Hello and welcome to another edition of Women on Fire. So when people talk about early retirement or the FIRE movement, the financial independence, retire early, it can sound a bit intense. Like you have to start investing when you're 22 and live off beans on toast for 20 years. And if you've ever thought, well, that's not really me, or I've probably left it a bit late, then this is the video for you. I want to talk about early retirement for women in the UK in a way that actually feels achievable. So not extreme FIRE, but, not hustle culture, because I don't know about you, but I'm not at a point of my life where hustle culture interests me anymore. I mean, I was at one point, and I'll discuss that in future videos, but I'm really not there now. I am aiming for something that I just call FIRE enough. And I'm planning to retire at 57. I'm 47 now. It's not outrageously early. It's not like I'm going to be travelling the world in my 30s. That ship has sailed, unfortunately. But then I remind myself that I have raised 3 children. So some other FIRE models were never going to work for me. And 57 feels early enough for me. So just a little bit more about my background and a bit about how I got here. So I started off when I finished university. I couldn't find any work. And my sister had previously moved to America. So she said, why don't you come over? There's lots of opportunities. So that's what I did. And I actually ended up, even though my degree was in education, I ended up working in banking. And when I was working in banking, I was introduced to index funds, and it was mainly through some of the colleagues that I worked with, the investment officers. And that was my first light bulb moment about investing. It was nothing clever. You just needed to be steady, and you needed to use low cost funds to do it. And so while I was living in the US, I paid into a 401k. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, wait a minute. She's talking about you don't start investing in your 20s, and then it looks like she did. Well, then life changed. And I moved back to the UK and I cashed out that 401k. And this was in 2007. So luckily it was actually 2006. So it was right before a big crash, which I know I really lucked out on that one. But had I left that 401k as it is, well, I don't even want to talk about what it would be worth now. But I didn't. I cashed it out because I know that's not ideal, but I was focused on raising a family, as a lot of us are. And so for a long time, investing then sat on the back burner. I didn't do it, basically. But I knew that it was something that I was interested in, and I knew that it was something that was simpler than what we've been led to believe in the UK. So at that time in my life, flexibility mattered more, and being around my family mattered more. So that's what I did. And that's very different to your classic FIRE stories that you hear, where someone maxed out everything and then they just set it and then they retired so early. So that wasn't my reality. But let's fast forward to now. So as I say, I've always had it on the back burner, always been an interest of mine, but it's only probably when I turned 40 that I started to focus on it again. And that's because these are my best earning years. And my children are a bit older, just packed the first one off to university and the other 2 are still living at home. I've got one in the early teens and one in the late teens that are living at home with me. But what changed wasn't motivation, it was my perspective. I realised that retirement wasn't about doing things perfectly from the start. It's about one simple thing. And that one simple thing is what I'd like you to take away from this video today. It's what you have versus what you spend. So your resources versus your outgoings. And that's really it. So let's talk a little bit about that simple model. And this is a framework that I've kind of adapted myself for my own expenses. And that's something that you'll have to do as well, because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what's worked for me. So the framework that I use is inspired by a really important book. And that book, not going anywhere, is The Simple Path to Wealth. Now, the simple path to wealth is a genius way of understanding it, but it's very much adapted to my own personal circumstances. So on the one side, you've got your investments like your ISAs and your pensions and any savings that you've got, any future pension income. Because I did mention that I did teach for a very short amount of time. So I have a very small defined benefit pension. And anything else that's reliably going to bring money in. That doesn't, unfortunately, include your property unless you intend to sell it. And lots of people here in the UK are very focused on their houses. And that's a bit detrimental when it comes to retirement income because it's not going to actually bring anything in for you. On the other side, you've got what you need to spend. So that's your actual cost of living your life. And on that one, it's as simple as that. When you can have what you comfortably can cover to spend, then you're ready to retire, essentially. You've got financial independence. It's not about a magic number and it's not about an obsession with spreadsheets, although I do like using ones that other people have created. I don't spend hours creating my own. Just keep it nice and simple and realistic. So for me, retiring at 57 works because I'm clear on what I need to actually spend. I keep investing straight forward, so I keep to those index funds as recommended in that book and other research that I've done. And I'm making the most of my higher earning years now. So just to delve into the simple path to wealth a little bit more, what I like is just how unglamorous it is. It's not about putting investing on a pedestal that as something that's unattainable or confusing to understand. Really, anybody that's got the motivation to do so can learn how to invest. So don't spend more than you earn and invest the difference in some low-cost index funds. Avoid any unnecessary debt, and that's a key one that I've learned throughout my life. Wasn't always perfect. I don't know who it is, but I avoid debt like the plague now. And let time do the heavy lifting as well, because obviously we have limited time if we start later in life, but we still have time, and it's not exciting, but it works. So most important about this method is that it doesn't rely on you being perfect. It doesn't rely on you having to start early or constantly fiddling with spreadsheets or changing your investments. It's a fix it and forget it thing. So it rewards steadiness, and honestly, it suits women's lives far better because women's careers are rarely neat and tidy. We take breaks, we work part-time for our family, we step back and then we can step forward again. And then there's certain points in our life where the hustle just doesn't make sense at all. So the idea that financial independence only works if you have one straight path just doesn't make sense. And my approach accepts that I didn't do everything right early on, but I'm doing what I can right now. And I'm building a life I actually want to retire to. So for me, early retirement is not about never working again. It's about choice. And work is optional, not compulsory. I don't want to be sat down and subjected to another restructure and think to myself, oh crap, I've got to stay here because there's nowhere else and nowhere other options for me. I want to be able to say, no, I could take it or leave it. And the book actually does talk about building up some FU money, which I really love that idea as well. And that's what freedom really looks like after all. So if you're watching this and thinking, have I left it too late and have I messed things up? Because hands up, I've messed things up loads of times. Is this even possible now? Then you don't need a perfect past. You just need some clarity, some simplicity, and a path that fits your life. I'm not aiming for extreme fire, and I'm just aiming for fire enough. And if that sounds like you, you're not behind, you're just doing it your way. So if this was helpful, please let me know in the comments. If you want to share one of your mistakes, because I've shared a couple, then great. If you want to share a couple of your successes to really help me along, that would be useful also. So I'm happy to share more about bridging the gap to pension age and what retiring at 57 might look like on a day-to-day basis as the channel moves forward. So thank you for watching, and I hope that's been useful today.